So people are full of assumptions. And what I usually say, people, they react, they don't research. She's been privy to my main account. As far as I'm aware, she's never gone to any of the other accounts. I've never had an interaction with her on there. There's a method to my madness, which is why it is what it is. I was about to spell it out for people, but that's not the point. It just cracks me up. She reacted. So as it reads, pretty sure I've been reading / paying attention to your posts, and this factors into what I'm going to leave on here. For years, never needed anyone to spoon feed me. I'm well aware that anyone who is on the world stage is playing the game on some level, but was just wondering if there was something specific or major that I was missing. W, that guy in particular, BC, I thought that he said in the clip was accurate. In other words, she still wants me to think for her and give her what she wants. It just pains me because this is somebody that I've kept relatively close, and this is how they're still fucking operating. And there's no reason for me to take the time and energy to say there are other accounts. Da 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 da. This is what I've been doing, because I've also been telling people what the fuck I've been doing for 10 years. To limiting degrees, but if they're truly fucking keeping up, that means they're invested, that means they're involved. And technically, by extension, that means that they're trying to fucking do the right thing. Superficially popping in, being a fair weather voyeur, that doesn't mean you're trying. What the fuck do I know? So it's not so gosh darn cryptic. So typically speaking, people don't want to own up to their mistakes in any form or way, and you can assume what you will about me, etc., etc., etc. And I'll get to that in a second, or you could just read the responses. In terms of being spoon-fed something, you don't ask somebody for a fucking handout if you're capable of fucking doing it on your own. Yeah, sometimes, a helping hand is this, that, and the other thing. But based on the track record, she and I have known each other for over 10 years, as far as I'm aware, and she has never fucking put in the time. She's still shopping around propaganda. If you're shopping around controlled opposition, in case you guys haven't figured this out, and they promote propaganda, then that means that you're promoting propaganda by circulating that shit. We live in the day and an age, and I've said this many times, where you have the capability of recording your own video free of the disinformation or propaganda, and people don't do this, typically speaking. If they do make a little video, they crap out their latest content, they still lean on the fucking figures who are promoting propaganda, the controlled opposition assets. They'll refer to their videos instead of thinking for themselves and putting in the time. Another way to put it is, if you've never looked into something, you probably shouldn't be talking about it. But the trick is, people love being told a sensational fucking story. This is why these adult fairy tales are circulated. So when you see that, you get off on it and you click repost. So other people see that you saw it and you're pretty neat because it sure sounds good, and then it just keeps getting circulated. It's a horrible way to put it. And I'm tired of rattling this shit off. I think this is one of the first times I've barked at this gal. And yeah, apparently she's going through a whole bunch of shit. None of that I knew about. At least not in depth. I saw a mugshot, and that was about it. And she's been pretty quiet. But just the same, how am I to know that? I'm not fucking clairvoyant. And that still doesn't override the fact that prior to this, she wasn't going through that, and she still didn't do the right fucking thing. Alright, so the survey is going to say, in a minute I'm going to scroll something down, I'm going to bring down a notification. I was going to say something else because I'm in the midst of recording a video about a gal I've known for a while. You guys will see if you watch the video. Oh, what I was going to say is, if she were going through the other accounts and she gave a flying fuck, I mean, she would already be part of these, but once things subside on her end and her life rights itself, if she did go through some of these videos, she would probably block me because I'm complaining about how she's operating, is the point. But she's not going to see this shit, most likely. So, yeah. Either way. This has to do with TikTok because I am doing the right thing and I'm censored like a motherfucker. And I'll have to edit this part out so you don't see emails. Email! Cut this shit out. in case I forget. Pardon me, I'm eating spinach. And this took them a long time. We have reviewed your appeal, and we are happy to inform you that we have restored your account. I thought they were going to delete it. That's fucking hilarious. I really thought this was going to be, you're fucked again. But instead, they just didn't let me use my account for about a week. I think they took the maximum amount of time, which I think was supposed to be 7 days, roughly. Either way, that's funny. Freedom of speech should exist regardless of the medium. Community standards has nothing to do with freedom and everything to do with fascist fucking censorship. Censorship. Most people haven't figured that much out. If you're using words like shadow banning, canceling, or babbling about polarizing positive vibes only, you are catering to a fascist fucking censorship campaign. And most people are too dumb to realize it. So, this is, well, not that. That too, but this is what it looks like when you're censored. Due to community guideline strikes, you cannot upload videos at this time. The video I tried to upload, ironically, is something that was recently removed. It has been live on this, or public, rather, on this platform on YouTube for quite a while. And it was removed last night out of the fucking blue because it's got a little Nazi swastika patch pinned over the wartime flag of the District of Columbia. This is a great time to also think about presidents for a minute, who are stewards of the District of Columbia. One you probably know about, or probably two of them, are the two Bushes. Yeah? The Bush from the 90s and the Bush from the late 90s, early 2000s. So probably early 90s, roughly. Those were the two terms. But the grandpappy of those two, Prescott Bush, if I remember his name correctly, he supported the Nazi Party, which is questionable. And it's just as good as Donald Trump's dad being in the KKK. But those things don't matter. Those people have still become presidents because they're all related. It's a fucking club, etc., etc., etc. Either way, it just makes me laugh that this was fucking censored as a hate speech. Even though what I was complaining about on here, I said, I almost said corporation because it is. America became a corporation in 1871, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Look up the Organic Act. That's when it established the District of Columbia, which is a third-party system, which is a phony fucking jurisdiction in place to subjugate the masses, to create the illusion of a fucking fairy tale that you believe in instead of looking into, because if you did, it would never have fucking existed, and it wouldn't today if people were doing the right thing. But it does exist. So what I said is, does government provide you with healthcare, shelter, and the list goes on. It's not a fucking hate speech is the point. But the arbitrary algorithm controls our lives. It controls what can be said on the DARPA internet, because the internet is not for the people, by the people. This is what it looks like when you try to do the right fucking thing. I've not verified my account because that process is in place to promote and pave the way for social credit slavery. It's how our masters are normalizing this shit. So I reached the daily limit, the daily quota of how many videos I can upload. Not that people are fucking seeing them anyhow, if you look at no views. So I wasn't allowed to upload the two that I left on here last night. One of which is also the hate speech video, which is not a fucking hate speech. It's also, if I was rich, granted, that would be me playing the game. That would be me trying to use the system to fix the system. You and I have no rights once we enter into court and we pass that bar. It's a fact. It doesn't serve you and I. We forfeit all of our rights the moment we fucking show up to court, because it's a consent-based system and we choose to do that. But because you and I are surrounded by absolute fucking morons, those kangaroo courts, those Saturnian fucking courts, those courts that are not for the people, by the people, exist. They wouldn't if you and I were surrounded by adults doing the right thing, but they do. The reason I'm saying this is I was just accused of a hate speech. That's defamation. That discredits my character. That takes a chip out of my fucking armor, so to speak. And it's absolutely wrong. But I have no way of contesting this and seeing that, You can click the appeal process on here, but it's an absolute fucking joke. It's just as good as trying to use the system to fix the fucking system. The point is we need people to pull their heads out of their ass, figure out what's going on, to actually pay attention. Not go along with the flow and repeat the same fucking superficial slop that was spoon-fed to the rest of them, but to take the time to try to understand why things are what they are and how they're being manipulated, just for beginners. Just for starters is what I'm trying to say. But people aren't doing that. And they're not about to do that, which assures that things are not going to get better. Things are only going to get worse, predominantly speaking, because you and I are surrounded by superficial fucking people. Phony as fuck fucking people. Case in point. How many people out there bought into social engineering jargon, starting to call things fake, which also was part of this censorship campaign, which is still ongoing, mind you. But how many people bought into that? How many people out there, oh, I like fake boobs. Oh, I like this, that, and the other thing. That also paved the way for what we see today in terms of child abuse, people playing a mean game of make-believe, essentially cosplaying as a different gender and asking people to fucking buy into it. So now that's bled into something else having to do with equally quote-unquote fake bullshit. Now what you see online is a bunch of fucking AI videos, AI art, AI news, AI profiles. Why would that exist? I mean, it wouldn't, is the point. If, just like all this other stuff that I'm complaining about, you and I were surrounded by well-meaning adults capable of critical thinking skills and willing to fucking put in the time and energy to see that the right things are done, not the wrong things, more often than not. But the ratio is wildly disproportionate, and that's why things are fucking horrible. It's why it's a shit show. It's why so many of you out there feel discontent. You feel, maybe not dejected, but you feel put off. You're not necessarily happy. You see that something is terribly fucking wrong. And the only way to change that is if the majority of people out there realize that they've been taken for a fucking ride, because we've all been had, and they actively seek to try to change that. Part of this process involves, and I've said this too many times, we would have to band together and figure shit out, root things out, not use our master's narratives, the official narrative of bullshit. We'd have to organize outside of digital mediums. Anything that's connected to electronics or the Wi-Fi has been corrupted. It's a surveillance state. Through and fucking through. It's one way you might be able to think in terms of it, even though that's equally fucking superficial. But that paints a picture for some of the dumb fucks out there who don't know what I'm talking about. You and I were trained to carry around cell phones. That's why they were handed out for free when you sign up for a fucking plan, because our masters want you to carry around a fucking cell phone. Obviously, these things track you and I. Even if you put it in airplane mode, when you kick it back into, the regular old mode, it will update. It will update where you've been based on the gyroscopes and all the other crap that's built into these things. I should just digress, because most people won't see this anyway, and most of you probably don't fucking care. You and I have been manipulated. We are doing our master's work for them, and all of this is counterproductive to you and I. None of this benefits you and I. The bottom line is to band together, organize, and execute a plan outside of digital medium, and then do the right fucking thing. Cut the heads off the stakes, or pull up the fucking weeds at the root, and start over like adults. Not trash the fucking infrastructure that does hold society together. I'm talking about mom and pop. I'm talking about what you would probably consider capitalism. Don't burn all the buildings to the ground. Don't do any of that, because that's fucking stupid. That's something a child would do. Most of you out there probably don't get it. At least that's what I imagine based on interacting with people, typically speaking. I would, however, stress that we should be tearing down 5G, this, that, and the other thing. The internet has not improved. Our master's tactics to, again, subjugate the masses have. And you'll see this if you fucking pay attention to how the internet works, despite what you were spoon-fed. Oh, it's going to fucking download this fast, and it's going to be so fucking Jim Dandy and fine. But it's not. The internet's slower and clunkier and less efficient than it used to be. Each one of these bands of energy still exists. 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. And most people don't realize it because it's a fucking net of energy. It's a fucking prison. It's a means of control because the goal is control. So tearing down that infrastructure, I don't frown on that one bit. That is something that should have already been done. It should have never been built. But most people just went along with the flow. You can use what I just said as an example of what not to do and what people are currently doing in terms of fucking everything up.